Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome all you karmic capitalists to our fourth episode of Consciousness Incorporated. My name's Adam Vasquez, and I am joined with my glorious co-host, Denise Kohnke. Denise?
That's me. I'm shining like a
You
bright
are.
star.
You are glowing today, by the way. I wanted to tell you that.
Thank you.
I didn't want to say it earlier because I didn't want to steal it, but I wanted to use it now. So I just want to tell you, you are glowing today. So usually you glow, but today you're especially bright and shiny. So
thank you.
So, gosh, we got a big topic today, culture of vibration. So
Huge
that's going to
topic.
be, yes.
Huge.
Yeah. And, you know, Denise and I talk about this all the time. We we apply it in our own businesses that we run. And
have
it's
run.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about that.
And it's just been a game changer for us in all aspects. And it was a realization I think both of us had, right, Denise, when we started really leveraging this skill and knowledge, that it just got us back to flow in the whole human potential of our culture.
And getting to flow as a business is critical to finding flow as a business. And if you think businesses can't flow, I've been there. They flow. You know, Bruce Springsteen did the E Street Band, curiously, was not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but Bruce Springsteen was in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And they got inducted a few years ago, and he actually talked about that moment in time when the right people are flowing, and it's you if you could bottle it, it would be miracle, but you can't. How does that happen? The confluence of people coming together at the right time with the right purpose. It can happen. And when it happens, you know, you're talking Hall of Fame stuff.
Yep.
Because it's magic. You know, people call this magic, and they call this stuff we talk about as supernatural. Well, no, it is not supernatural. It's actually natural.
Yeah.
So I've always found that curious and ironic. It's actually natural. It's part of everything.
You're funny. It's like the idea of that it's magic. Now it made me feel magic because of our separation with source, but this is actually more true than a lot of lies or distortions is a better way of saying that, we all use. We call best practices, but those are a fear-based distortions of an old reality that it's up to us to shift, right?
Right.
So,
you said in, I think, the first episode, when you sort of got to the discovery, you know, because we have two different paths here, you said, wow, this is a life hack. Yeah, it's a life hack. Yeah. And if you're not interested or doing some of this stuff, I'm like, why the hell not? It is a life hack, and it is glorious, and it does bring you supernatural energy.
So, you're calling in another dimension, a limitless consciousness, right? And that just does make you a bit superhuman in many ways. And so I guess last episode we talked about the personal journey of finding purpose, right? And we called it, you know, the value, finding value, and really that was like finding your value, finding your why, finding what your reason, and that is at an individual level. Today we're going to talk about the collective, the team. Like, what does that mean? How do you recruit? How do you find, right? And we're going to get deep into this, like we usually do, and we'll go deeper. And if you guys don't think we're going deep enough, drop us a note, and we will go the direction that our fellow karmic capitalists want us to go, because we're all students of this, right?
And if you say, I don't get it, this is crazy talk, we'll explain it again. It's not crazy talk.
Well, and it's funny, in my own evolution, when I used to think like, okay, that's crazy talk, that's because I'm down here on a consciousness level, And then once I get to a realization, when I'm at that level, then new things unfold, new meanings unfold with the same word. I may have heard the same sentence, the same word. Maybe read the same line in the same book, but when you look at it from a higher level, it can have a totally different meaning. And those are timeless pieces. When you find books, literature, art, things that last at different levels that have the same, you're like, wow, whoever did this, the author, the artist, the engineer, the
person in
director,
history, Marcus
it's amazing. Yeah,
all these people are talking about the same thing.
That's right. So how do we do that? So let's
Can you show the chart from last week?
Yeah. So let's talk about. So yeah, to Denise's point, we're going to bring up the frequency slide, vibration slide, just because we're going to be talking a lot about this and we want to refresh her. And this is from week 1.
Right.
So let's get into this. I'm going to add this to the stream. So this is the glorious map of consciousness, mapped and identified by Dr. David Hawkins. I usually like to show the ice crystals, crystallization of water, and what those are is an experiment by Dr. Emoto, who basically put projected thoughts into water and froze it. And based on these words and thoughts, it would freeze and things. On the top is joy, love, and peace, beautiful crystallization. And at the bottom is I hate you, it's shame, I feel bad. Yeah. And it shows you what that is doing to you. And so just a reminder for everyone what frequencies do and being in vibration does to your molecular body, because we're all mostly water.
And I told you, I sent it to you the other day. When you do it on blood's got patterns.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Yes.
Blood does this too. So, I mean.
Which makes sense, right? It's
exactly. It's a liquid.
Yeah. And it's all water based, since we're mostly water and this planet is mostly water. So
full moons
water is life.
Full moons fill up the ERs in hospitals. I mean, because tide is up. This stuff all matters.
So just a refresher on this, when we talk about frequencies and vibrations, this isn't, the numbers on the left aren't necessarily the frequencies themselves.
Right.
Those are actual frequencies in hertz, and you can measure those. These are more just a weighting of power over force, right? Power being enlightenment at 700, force being shame, meaning your actions, when you're in a fear-based action, you're doing force. Like I need to do things. The doer in you is coming from force, in fear. The powerful higher self is coming from love, peace, and joy and abundance, because you already have it and you're infinite. And your decisions and your actions based on these frequencies or these levels really determines your overall health and your being in, we call it strategic flow. Okay. So staying at a high level and moving through working with the universe in a Taoist way, not just flowing with the river, but actually being the river. So
be the ball.
Yeah, be the ball. Yes.
Be the ball.
Yes. Can
absolutely. You show the other one? And I'm going to talk about that for like 2 seconds. Okay. I'm being an absolutist again. And
which one would you like me to show?
The one from last week where it looks like a schematic.
Yes. Yeah. Let's pull up the personal journey one too. Let's add that for a refresher.
So we talked about where this all comes from and how you can make it and how you can build it and what does the journey look like. So know thyself is a big part of it. I don't want to say you can't do this unless you know yourself, but you kind of can't do it unless you know yourself. And so, we did a SWOT. You have to be truthful.
Or a SWOT, we call it now, right?
We did a SWOT. We are going to, if we were into trademarks, we'd trademark that, but we're not into trademarks. A SWOT about know yourself and be honest with yourself and figure out what your happiness is. And you can quantify that if you just mark it down as you go throughout the day. What am I doing? How does this make me happy? 1 to 5, 1 to 10. Oh, that's a 2. Let's avoid that in the future. So, oh, that's a 7 or an 8. Hey, let's do more of that. And then, ask yourself what you have done personally that you are personally proud of. That's going to enter your clarity of what's important to you. Then you kind of move through this thing. You move through this thing because you're starting to frame by way of vibration. You're figuring out your place. You are pursuing challenges. And that is super important. Everything that I've read is that this is not a state of, you talk about serenity or non-action or non-something. It's not. It's a very action-based thing because you're always challenging yourself to find your higher vibration self. And then purpose, really important, helps a lot. All that turns into flow, and all that is a positive
thing. And so when we talk about doing this as a group, the CEO, I think probably really starts and ends with the leaders, right?
Absolutely. Top
so
down.
If they don't know this for themselves, the organization is out of balance and then totally different frequencies and you get the picture, right?
Totally top down. And people about bad organizations, people use the cliche, the fish stinks from the head to the tail. Right. But it is a top down thing. So, we want to talk about how can an organization get flow and get that kind of cumulative energy that pushes it forward and makes happy employees.
Yeah. And we were talking about this right before we hopped on. And normally we try not to talk too much about these subjects because we want it to be organic as possible. And we're going to change some things up in how we do that so we can just keep sort of a natural flow of things and not really over polish or over rehearse things, because I think that's really key.
And we're live, no net.
And we're live. Yes, is part of the thing. And so when we look at it from an individual perspective, I just want to make sure everybody's really clear on this point. Somebody at a 700 level plus is no better than somebody at a 20. Okay.
Yes, this is not elitism.
This just means that you are potentially, a college graduate versus someone in elementary school. It does, or a teenager versus a grown adult. And we know some grown adults that are less enlightened than teenagers. So my point is if you're up there and you're feeling like, gosh, I'm great, and everybody's lower, you're actually in a lower frequency. And so there is no leadership top down. We're better than you. You don't know better.
Yeah.
No, that's a very common mistake. And that is rooted in fear.
In fear. There's no judgments in the universe. The universe nature doesn't judge and say one thing is better than another. That comparative process where you are judging people and, positioning, that's positioning in marketing terms. You look at a competitive set and then the brain ladders. This one's more of this one's less of this one's cheaper, this one has better quality, more convenient. That's positioning for a company. But for a human, don't go around judging people. You're just going to slip yourself down, into shame and all sorts of really weird.
Well, you're shaming the people, right? Yeah, which puts you in a shame vibration, but also pride. So you're at a pride level, and you're not even to neutrality yet, right?
But when I say pride, I'm in that last chart. Mm-hmm. I do want to clarify that because I'm saying, what are you proud of that you have done? I'm really proud of how, my children are good people, raised good children. That was really important to me. I'm proud of, I finished a screenplay, never sold it, but I finished a screenplay because that was important to me. I did it.
Well, it's you have to pass through pride, and there's a gratitude with it, which you're really talking about at that higher level. It's pride evolves into gratitude and just appreciation and love and joy that you did it, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter anybody who reads it, but you know you did it for yourself, and
For
that's
yourself.
important.
It's
and
not,
that's how you move up the ladder.
Yeah, it's not, I'm proud to have a midlife Corvette.
Right. Well, or where pride gets negative is when, say, I can be wrong all the time, right? And that's fine. But when you don't want to be wrong and you're protecting your ego, that is a 175 pride, right?
Yes.
I was in a
Yes.
I was in a group the other day, and a gentleman who's a CEO was projecting some of his fears on the entire group. And I just said, please don't project those on me, because that's just not my belief system. And instead of saying, that's okay, you're right, I should have realized that, he got offensive and actually made fun of me. Oh. And was like, oh, you're not going to be able to do it. I couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. And don't let anyone project their own limiting beliefs on you for rule number one. But that is the old model of leadership. That's the shareholder capitalism, fear-based model. And, I don't think they didn't apologize. They didn't even correct themselves midstream, because we can all have moments, right? We all have triggers, and that's okay, because those triggers are those catalysts that we have to overcome so that we can develop on this Gaia plane, Mother Earth, which is its own, this is the, a loving matrix, so to speak, for the video game. We're playing Mother Earth. That's the video game we're all playing, right?
Oh, I like that.
So and it's okay. But like Denise said, there is no judgment on the other side, because it's like, if you were playing a video game and you're sitting on your couch, imagine that's our higher selves on the couch playing the video game called Gaia, Mother Earth video game. And Denise and I are both playing, our souls are playing, we're sitting next to each other, which we are, by the way, which is kind of fascinating if you think about it. And we have all of our soul tribe with us, or spirit guides. They're sitting behind us, rooting us on, giving us cheats, tapping in, giving us information, communicating with us all the time. Imagine this. And one of us is like, hey, I want to go do this and experience this, because you have the veil of forgetfulness. So you don't even realize you're on the couch doing this. And you do something that is, someone could judge you for it, right? Now, think about it in real life. If somebody was playing Grand Theft Auto, is a bad game because it's it can be fun, but it's a very violent, destructive game. In the game, a lot of the game is, steal cars, do all sorts of stuff. So Grand Theft Auto. But nobody is judging you on the other side of how you play Grand Theft Auto. Now, imagine Earth is the game where you can go service the self, which is a lower vibration. Fear is service to self, ego, or you can go service to others, and you can make money at both. So money is not evil, right? And I think you can actually help. You can be better at servicing others with more money, by the way.
With more money. Money is not evil.
So money just
through a needle thing that I heard constantly growing up. Money is not evil.
Nobody is going to judge you. They're not, how you use that money. There is no judgment on this other side, because it's all love. So they're just like, okay, I'll give you more of it. That's what you want to experience in the game. I'm going to give you more of it. Now, you might be miserable in the game, operating at a low frequency and still playing in fear and service to self, but it's still your game to play. And everybody on the other side is still going to love you for it, because they know that's the game. It's okay. In fact, it's designed to do that, because we, on the other side, we did design it because that was the point, because we couldn't get what we get out of these lifetimes in the other side. We can't get what we can get here.
And I want to make a clarification, because we talk a lot about ego and know thyself. There's a difference between egotist and egoist. An egotist thinks a lot, is borderline narcissist. The filter that they have is it's all about me.
And that's the service to self, right?
That's service to self. An egoist is someone who knows themselves.
Yeah.
Someone who allows themselves to be themselves. So that distinction is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, and I would like to add is it's not like their egos are a bad thing. Think of them as our roles on a play. And you think about this: if the world is a play, like the Shakespeare idea, we're given certain personalities, talents, looks. These are things. Imagine the video game. We're on the other side and like, what do I want my avatar to look like? Well, I want to do this in this lifetime, this, and this. So I'm going to pick the best. If you guys are gaming nerds, I'm going to pick the best, race, looks, athleticism. I'm going to pick intelligence because intelligence is going to help me here or not. A lack of intelligence can also help you too. So an intelligence can hurt you big time, right? Intelligent people are always in their heads, which can be a sabotage. Yeah. So there's always two sides of all of this, right? It just depends on what you're trying to do in the game, which gets into a bigger, we'll have some guests on to talk about soul planning, which is a fascinating topic. It's just interesting even if you don't believe it, which anybody who understands consciousness understands about incarnation and really gets it. But even if you don't, it's just entertaining because it's fascinating and it clicks things. So let's get back to the team now. Okay. So we're talking about individual because individuals are so important and leaders are so important in the team. Let's talk about HR without judging. So there's no judging. We're not trying to judge HR. HR, you guys are doing your best in a video game that is, bringing this out of you. And many HR professionals aren't even aware of the game itself. So how can they hack it or help others to do it?
Yeah. And that I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Even though Walter is barking, and I don't know if you can hear it.
Yes, but Walter's a lovely soul who are also part of soul groups, by the way. Your pets are definitely reincarnate with you.
So Walter is barking. I apologize in advance.
All good. It's part of living.
I want to put, there's a lot of people who nitpick things because, we're talking pretty broad and we're talking in gross generalizations. Mm-hmm. Now, when you're a researcher, gross generalizations matter because you can't necessarily pick one person and develop a strategy based on an individual. So I'm going to say that what I'm going to talk about is about an organization that is considered small to medium size because it is, there are different dang deals when you are talking about an organization of 1,000 people. It can be done, or an organization of 20,000 people. It can be done. You just cut it up into little pieces. But I'm going to talk about, managing an organization of small people or a department, frankly. So think of it like that.
And Denise, I'll chime in on the enterprise level because I have a lot of experience in that. Yes. So we'll go back and forth. But I definitely would argue is the wrong word, challenge that point that this definitely applies even more on a large enterprise, not even more, but it has a bigger impact because there's more souls you're
right.
impacting.
And you have experience with that, and I don't.
Yeah, well, and that's a great point. So our experience, we are coming from our experience with this. So everybody has their own experience and they look through it through their own lens. We are trying to look through this from our knowledge and understanding from our past experiences and consciousness, and as business leaders and CEOs and entrepreneurs ourselves, and how we've experienced and where we see it's going and where we see gaps. So no offense to anybody. We're just trying to move the discussion forward.
So I've hired lots of people, actually hired because I was a CEO of an agency, and an agency is a bunch of creative people and people who need to be creative so they can work with other creative people. And that's kind of important. But I ran, whenever I hired anybody, and I didn't hire creative people per se, the creative guys did that, but I hired everybody else. And I knew in 10 seconds of an interview whether it was going to work or not. 10 seconds. Why?
I was going to ask, so why? What were those things?
Vibration. I knew when someone walked in the door, whether they would fit. I'm not looking at them. I don't care what they look like or what they wear. I'm not judging, but I knew in 10 seconds. Now, I've made mistakes because those people were always the best people ever, worked seamlessly within the organization, advanced it. We were teammates. It was awesome. We loved them. They loved us. They grew and they, found purpose. And I always hired somebody so they would leave and come, go somewhere else and have some experience too, that about who they are and what they want to be. That said, I warned them that this will be your favorite job ever and nothing else will compare. Okay, maybe that was like me casting a spell, like I'm casting a spell on you. I probably shouldn't have done that. But it was true now when we look back in time, because everyone's, it wasn't this.
Well, that's because they're in a shared vibration and they're in flow, so they feel comfortable in a nurturing way, right?
Yes.
A safe way, right?
So there was only 2 times, and I'm going to tell some stories here if you don't mind, because they're kind of funny.
Go for it. Go for it.
There was only 2 times that we advertised a position because people would just come.
Yeah.
People would just, you talk about synchronicity. We would get the right person to knock on the door at the right time. And that always happened. There was only 2 times that I had to run an ad. And one was a great positive thing. Guy walked in, you're hired because the vibration was right. And again, I'm hiring people often like right there. They don't have to talk to 3 other interviews or anything like that. It's usually right there. And one time was this horrible, there have been a few times we like took a resume and went, okay, it's resume. We got to, bring that person in. And I'm like, but we hire them anyway.
And how do those individuals work that you hired in anyways?
Well, I created a team at one point. It's like, you guys hire somebody. Go ahead. You guys go through this process. And so the team got together and they looked at all these resumes that were coming in because I advertised a position. And they're like, okay, what do you got? And it's like, this is the pile of people that we like. This is the pile of people that we don't like. This is the individual we want to bring in because we think they're okay. And I'm looking at these resumes going, all right. So they bring in a TV anchor who wanted to get in the ad industry. So she was very buttoned up.
Very TV polished. Yeah.
She was TV polished. Like her hair was perfect. She was buttoned up. She said all the right things. And I'm like, okay. And everyone is like, yes, this will be important. I'm like, okay, you're hired. We negotiate a salary. That was all up front. A week later, she calls me back and says, I've been thinking about it, and I feel like I'm worth more than what you are about to pay me. So, and I said, wow. You're fired. I said it right there. It's like, no, I'm rescinding the offer. That was it. We were done. Don't do that to anybody.
Yeah, you don't come back after you shake a hand and agree to something.
Shake a hand and just like don't. So then I went to the pile of rejects, and there was one in there that was glowing to me. It's like, why did you reject this person? And they said, well, she had a couple of typos in her cover letter, and she wasn't. She didn't have as much experience as anybody.
Right.
She became the brightest light in the organization, the coolest one of the smartest, coolest people I have ever met. And she's my, we have a thing. She could call me up anytime and you know who you are and get a favor. And I could call her up anytime, I guess, because it's not about the resume. It's about seeing a path for an individual that they could turn into something phenomenal for your organization.
So Denise, so this is something that I started doing once I started really understanding the power of this and then applying it. So a couple of times,
is this resonating? You don't have to go there, Adam.
It's just amazing. No, I will go there. So I have a couple times, especially now I do this every time, but I thought so the universe, if you're connected to the universe, the universe is going to give you what you need, not what you think you want.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So one time recently, I threw out I know I talked to you. I talked to our other leadership team members. I was like, I know I need to send out this job description. I don't know why. I just need to. I need to, and I don't know why. And so I sent out this job description and I just throw it out in the universe, throw it on LinkedIn, just saying, is anybody fit this position? This is what we're trying to do. And I couldn't explain why. I knew we didn't have the budget for the role. I followed my gut, which is following a nudge from your spirit guides, on the other side of the couch. They're hitting my body, playing the game. They're like, do that now, right? Backseat driving, which I'll take all day. And so I sent it out there and we're about ready to interview. And another role that I was, we were going through some rough patches. This person's an incredible person, but it just wasn't looking like right fit. But I wasn't there yet. I didn't think I needed that. And literally the day of the interview for this new person that raised their hand that the universe brought to us, I was like, yeah, I know you reached out for this, but let's talk about this role. And it ended up working out great. It ended up being perfect. And so what I do now for all the roles is I actually sit down and when I meditate, I think about them in a visual interaction. And I think that would be a cool visual process at the end here for, if we don't talk about manifesting team members, right? Just putting it out there and asking the universe and just visualizing yourself working with them. I try to make it almost like you can't see the person's face or really shake their hand, but their presence, if that's safe, because you don't want to project a gender or a race or anything, because the universe is always going to provide you better than what you think. And obviously I'm a big believer in inclusion, diversity, all that stuff. But I actually put that in my head because I do that with all my goals in general, this or something better, because the universe knows better. So I just kind of put my intent out there, and then I do the work when I feel inspired to do the work. And then we put it out there, and we've had incredible people that have been fits, and almost to really talking about it from a soul group perspective. And I believe that everyone we experience in this lifetime, we've experienced many lifetimes with. So in the older soul you are, the more people you've come in contact with, right?
At least, I'm sure we talked to people who weren't part of our little clique, but we know the ones who were.
Yeah.
We absolutely know the ones who were. And they will be with us for a very long time, like infinity.
It's almost like a home, like a coming home, like an old friend sort of feeling. You feel it. You can't explain it, but you feel like you've known each other forever, like Denise and I.
Yeah, actually, that's true. I will tell you another story.
Yes, please.
They're fun. So we were in a bind. We were like, oh my God, so much to do, so much business. We need a warm body in the account, department. It's like, we need a warm body. So we call in this guy, and we had a a little welcome reception area that was completely enclosed, and it was a very cool space. And it had these really tall doors, and the doors had openings in them that were like, like diamonds, and you could see inside, but no one kind of knew you were doing that because, so there was the person who was going to take them back was coming from the other door, and me and another person were like, who is this guy? We're peeking through the near diamond, looking at him.
And this is happening in your mind's eye, right?
This
is real life. Okay.
This is real life.
Okay.
not
Adam visualizing a soul group. Okay. Got it.
And it's like, again, we need a warm body. So I'm looking at him, and he's a larger man, and he takes his right hand, and he had a butt crack showing, and he itches his butt as the person coming in the door is coming in, and he's like, nice to meet you.
Oh.
And we were like, oh my God. He wasn't a horrible guy. So we're like, fine, we'll try it. That man we hired him. He did not do one piece of work his first week. It was not one thing he did. So I went into the office and I kneeled down next to him and I said, this ain't working out. You're gone. To be good at creating a flow group, you kind of have to be good at firing.
So
you have to be good at hiring, and you have to be good at firing.
Well, yeah, because a couple things. By the way, that's a bit of anyone has seen Mallrats. That's a nice little Mallrats reference. If you haven't, I don't know if you've seen it, Denise. It's a bit of my crew in the 90s, so it's worth seeing. Anybody who's not watched it, it is a bit of a cult classic. And there's a scene with that, and I think there's a name for it. I can't remember. So when we talk about the soul groups, right? The teams that we're bringing in. I think you're right. I think you're right about a lot of things, obviously, and this especially. But and there's no but. I would say when we think about this team, right? It's a moving, sort of living, sort of organism as it's interacting with itself. And I want to talk about the team chemistry when we talk about this. And I think you're right. You put all this energy, like this is the right person, this is the one, and they may be the one for some time, and then they're not. Yeah. And that's when you need to let them continue your journey. It's like
continue the journey.
We came together for this part of the journey. Now you need to go do your things. The karmic cycle is complete, right? Mm-hmm. What we said we were going to help each other. You helped me overcome this fear, or you gave me some knowledge, or you helped me get over this hurdle. Like I helped you achieve this. And then it's when you talk about firing, it's time. It's time. You've got to go over there, and I have to go over here.
I have to go over here.
Let's hug. Yeah. It's all good. Don't be afraid. I'm going to help you. And most people that do that, I would say and if they're really thinking this through and they look back and when people depart companies, I mean, I wouldn't be here if I stayed in the same company. But when I was there at that same company at that time, that was the place I was supposed to be at that time with the team, and they're incredible people. Right.
Yeah. And a client once told me, and it was really interesting. He was from Saudi Arabia. Mm. He said one of the things that you have to learn as a business owner is the people that you start with aren't necessarily the same people that you move on with.
Right.
Or not necessarily the people that you end with.
Yes.
Because the idea of coming to an organization now for both parties and staying so long that you haven't grown yourself, not a good thing.
Yeah.
It's just not it's not a responsible thing for leadership. Mm-hmm. Leaders need to take care of people and lead them in a direction. I mean, it's like you're supposed to take care of people. They're not widgets that get broken and then you replace. That's not, leaders take care of people. They're on the vibration scale.
And we're not talking about holding their hand. Sometimes you have to hold hands because that's what good people do. They get people through challenges. We help. But sometimes being that taking care of somebody is sending them on their way, right?
Yeah.
That's part of that responsibility that we all as leaders have to carry.
Yeah. I once had I can read auras. I told you that.
Yes, that's right. If you did not hear earlier, Denise can read auras, and this is super cool. And she's also a trained mime. So
you had to bring that up again.
But I mean, they're totally different skill sets. I get that.
I juggle too, but
both very fascinating.
Not as I used to.
Wow.
There was an employee once, and she was one of these hires that we're checking a box, checking a box, checking a box. And then we had a client and she said, "Oh, I can deliver you more work for that client." And, because I know people there or something like that. We're going, okay, fine. You're hired. Well, I saw her. She was weird as AF, and she would disappear and reappear.
She was not in your frequency.
Oh, hell no.
Okay.
And then I saw her walk out of an elevator.
Yeah.
And she had a black aura.
Oh,
and
interesting.
That was the only black aura I have ever seen, ever. And with auras, you got to kind of look for them. You're not in the grocery store, in the fruit aisle, seeing all sorts of colors or anything. You kind of have to stop and go, okay, I'm reading. She had a black aura. And the next day, she presented an ultimatum, I'm going to do this if you don't do this. And she was trying to trap us into some sort of the way we talk, we say the F word all the time. We have fun with people. And I said, she put this over the table like this. She had these demands, and I pushed it back, and they didn't even read it. I said, "You're fired." And then we realized that, also people, if your company gives you a phone, you don't own the phone. The company owns the phone.
Right.
So immediately we looked at her records and found and correlated her expense reports. She was having an affair with the client.
Oh, yikes.
And she was trying to expense hotel and breakfast. And I was like, oh my goodness, how did we make that initial mistake? What the
and Denise, the thing is, for you, there was some catalyst learning thing that you needed. Not that you're sleeping clients, but there's something that you needed to learn through that process, right? So it's even the bad experiences or the air quotes bad employees or misaligned frequencies is still by design.
By design.
And so the whole, so we talked about, recruiting and finding. So let's talk about the team itself. I believe in harmony on the team because I believe in a flow, but that does not mean that we all have the same thoughts and we're not afraid to challenge each other and everything else. Now, I feel like there's two camps in this, right? Or there's the old saying, I think you said it, Denise, which, not that you say you believe this, but you talked about this in the past, is, there's people that will be like, you can be one of three things, right? You can be nice and good at what you do, and I'll work with you. You can be good at what you do, but not nice, and I'll work with you. And then you can be totally incompetent and mean, and now there's no way. Or you can be nice and mean and incompetent, I won't work with you. So I guess 4. But for me, that's I feel like you have to be both the first one for me in my belief system, because I've seen individuals that are really good at what they do, but they're totally out of the frequency of the team, and the team self-destructs. It becomes like a cancer inside the team, and it's all about frequencies, and it's not about agreeing with each other, because that's the worst thing you want. That you don't want same thoughts, and you want diversity of cognitive diversity, right? Beyond, other inclusion and diversity. And the reason why having people of different races and backgrounds is important on your team, because they bring different cognitive diversity. They have different backgrounds and perspectives that you would never have from your perspective, right? Because you haven't lived their life.
Right. The point is to create a diamond. Teams are like diamonds. They have facets. Mm-hmm. And the point is not to create something that replicates itself into people. The point is to create facets that work together to shine. So when you're creating diamonds, you need to have people with different origin stories. Mm-hmm. You need to have people that have potentially different belief systems, especially for the work that we do. Now, I know that like a factory, I have never hired anyone for manufacturing.
But it's the same. It is the same, Denise, though. It's the same, because teams are teams. Groups of people are the same. I mean, even robots need to be in sync, right?
That is true.
Even robots need to be synced to the same. And we're not talking about all the same beliefs and likes, because remember, the universe is about diversity. It's about experiencing itself in new ways through you in as many different ways as possible. And that's the beautiful thing about all of it, is diversity. Mm-hmm. So when you get past that point, then it's still, are we vibrating at the same level? Meaning it's really hard. And I'll use that explanation this way. So I've had team members in the past, both in corporate roles and team members that have reported to me through, merit. And, when you're saying something, if they're on a different frequency than you, they might be viewing the thing you're saying through a fear-based lens. Yeah. And so they're misinterpreting everything you're saying and your intent. Yeah. And you can be coming from the highest love power ever, and they may mistrust you or don't believe you because they're stuck in a fear-based reality and can't move past that. Yes. And to me, that's where frequencies matter most, right? And knowing that I'm not better than that person, but I need that person to realize where they are on the spectrum, so to speak, so they understand that this is coming from a different perspective, and they need to at least appreciate it, even if they're not fully there yet.
Yes. Can I bring up?
Yeah. Please do. That's a great
book.
The Four Agreements.
I recommend
everyone read it.
You gave everyone at the agency this book, and it was, I heard of it, but I never read it. And it was fantastic. And I think anybody who's trying to create a flow team needs to make this book required reading once you get past a first interview, or once do you really want this job? Then you have to agree to this. And this is not a cult. This is common frickin' sense. Yeah. So I'm gonna read the jacket, because
and by the way, I really love that term, flow team.
Flow team. We made a new term.
You just made it. I love it. I don't know if it exists.
I don't know if I made it up.
But
flow team.
We will give them their credit if somebody else coined it. Either way, it exists in the universe before we said it, so nobody owns it anyways, right?
Yes.
So flow
exactly. Team. Flow team. Okay, these are the 4 agreements. I'm gonna read this whole jacket. Okay. Taking up like a couple of minutes of time here in our
I think it's important.
But it's worth it.
Please read.
Okay. 1, be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Item 2, don't take anything personally. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. 3, don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. And the last one, always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to when you are sick. Under any circumstance, simply do your best, and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret.
Wow.
This is a metaphysical book.
And, self-abuse, what level of frequency is that? That's shame. Self-shaming. Everybody stop the self-shaming. Please, can everybody here commit to themselves to stop the self-shaming? You are an infinite being having a very short-term, physical experience, and you're all beautiful. Like everybody, we're all connected and it's all good. We are all different levels as long as we can keep truth to ourselves.
Yes. But this, again, that all sounded like common sense and of course I will do that. This is a book on how to be enlightened. This is a metaphysical book based on ancient, conduct in, I don't know, Mexico, South America, something like that. But the fact that it sounds that it is, of course I would do that. Do you really do that? No. Commit to this. Right. Commit to that, and your life will have flow and synchronicity. And if you go, oh, yeah, but it's too hard, or I'd have to read it or listen to it. It's like, seriously, somebody is offering you like the key to the universe and all things glorious and happy, and you don't have time to read it.
So let's kind of talk a little bit. This is great. This is so great, because really what creating a culture of vibration is about, yourself. You can't change anything on the outside without changing what's on the inside. And regardless, you can't control consciousness. No matter how much you try to manifest, you cannot force will. Free will. You cannot force another soul to do something. You have to let go and let the universe work it out. And unfortunately, you can use it for good and evil, because the universe just wants to give you what it thinks you want because it loves you. So use this for good, not evil. And so
there are people out there who are narcissists, who are operate very professionally on the bottom of the cone. There are people out there who are mentally neurotic or psychotic, that we know, but at some point, this is the savior. This is what will save them.
So we talk about the function of HR and what it really is. I think it's important when you talk about, vibration. What it is today, I would argue, is command and control and risk management.
Yes.
It is. There are a lot of everybody who's doing it are infinite, beautiful beings. They are living in distortions in a fear-based model. So they are trying to stay, and they're making decisions based on fear. As an example, a non-compete. Let's talk about non-competes. Non-compete is a fear-based tool because you're afraid if they leave you, they're going to take something from you.
Right.
And I'm here to say, if you're worried about that, you are coming from lack, from fear, And honestly, if they take something from you, that customer, whoever they take or steal, wasn't in your vibration. They weren't in your frequency. They didn't understand you. They didn't appreciate you. And it's probably the wrong customer for you. Okay. And just like they're the wrong team member for you. And those fear, and somebody who goes and takes something from somebody else is in a lower vibration because they're trying to take something.
So taking something from me, when you look at all of the psychological heuristics, and there are many, and fallacies of logic in there, and there are many, this is all psych stuff, all of those things which people like me can use to manipulate thought.
Yes. Yeah, that's good or evil.
Yes, good or evil. All of that, most of it is based on you're taking something from me.
Yeah. Right.
Most messaging out there politically and from a marketing point of view is you should fear because they're going to take something away from you. They're going to take away your fill in the blank. They're going to take away money. This is going to cost you money. You know, none of it is about prosperity or abundance or making a better world for everybody. It's all about what are you going to take away from me?
Yeah.
Which I find just, okay, I yell at the TV.
And everybody sees through the HR function. I'm here to help you. This is an HR person. I'm only here to help you if it doesn't hurt the company and the leadership team, which is not true. That's service to self, not service to others, right? That's not a higher purpose. And that's deeply rooted in fear-based models and past experiences and people operating in a fear-based way. But eventually you have to let it go if we're going to elevate ourselves as a culture and society. You have to let it go. All those fear-based past, all those fear-based experiences are actually hurting your decisions in the future because you're just carrying that past forwards. When you do that, we live in a museum, right, Denise? We live in a museum. Yes, everything around us is the past.
Everything around you is something that was done a long time ago, and it becomes kind of archival. These are all just archival tokens. Art is a future thing. It's not a past thing. Art happens in the moment, but everything we look at is a museum, and artifacts, frankly, should be placed appropriately in your life.
Yes, very much.
I'm not saying artifacts are bad. I'm saying they need to be placed appropriate in your life, and
your thoughts too are artifacts.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm bubbling up now. I read something just the other day, or maybe it was yesterday, that said, children always try to make their parents proud. But really, if you're going to make anybody proud, put your pride, put your positive actions forward. Make your children proud. Make your children's children proud. Make your children's 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 children proud. So when you look at something like an action, even actions are artifacts and don't belong in tomorrow's.
Well, so let's explore some other topics on this, right? I mean, I think you're right. We keep bringing the past forward, and one of those legacy things, and I get why it was created. Let's talk about labor unions. Labor unions, in my humble opinion, are not. I understand the point, and I'm not trying to say that I'm not pro labor union or not. What I am saying is, if your business has a labor union, it is a failure of leadership.
Yes, agreed.
Complete and that means you have a monarchy and an autocratic sort of business where the leadership tells everybody and you're disconnected and you're a service to self company. And it has created a division of the people because people who are working for you and everything else. So when I see companies where labor unions like Amazon or Starbucks, I know those companies have completely failed at a leadership level.
Yes.
And they are a shareholder based money machine. They are not karmic at all. And I'm sorry, Starbucks, you're not karmic at all. And neither are you, Amazon. Amazon certainly not. Amazon is a money machine and inefficiency. And there's tons of articles out there. I'm not trying to bash Amazon. I'm just using them as an example. But when a labor union pops up or the requirement, and if you're an HR professional or anyway, and I'm not judging, I'm just telling you a fact. You have failed from a karmic capitalist level in so many ways because a labor union shouldn't need to exist.
Exactly. Now, the balance of that is they exist because they have to exist because they are they're a balance to bad leadership.
Right.
Okay, you got to scratch for every hour off. You have to scratch for this stuff because the leadership, the structure of the organization is not playing at a high level. So yes, they should exist, but wouldn't it be nice if they didn't have to?
Right. And then the HR function, it's a quarantine, filter, mitigate employee relations function, right? There's a lot of other things important, payroll, benefits, other things like this that are functional administrative stuff, no problem. And there are some HR companies that are really doing this well, and those are karmic capitalist companies. So this is not everyone. But again, you have to ask yourself, it's like, oh, I'm the people experience officer or that, and that's still missing the point. You should be a transformation agent of consciousness inside the organization so you can make yourself obsolete. It's the whole point. Make yourself small so you don't even need the function anymore. And people are like, oh, well, then I'm out of a job. Lack.
Well, there's the continuous loop.
There's the lack and the fear. I need to be needed. I need to have a purpose. And that's good. Yes, sure. Sometimes your purpose is just, being with your family or just vibrating on high vibration. That's okay. That doesn't require a job actually.
Right.
But so there is a systemic
it's totally
fear
systemic
throughout the organization. And I'm sorry, it starts with it in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously it starts and ends with the leadership, but HR is a control mechanism of authoritarian and shareholder capitalism, which is the old model.
Yes. And they just, their primary function is not to get sued by people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so they don't have that person that put that list across your desk and saying that these are my demands because you used, curse words and
oh, and by the way, every time I interview somebody, I say the F word. I make sure I always put it in my interview because I watch how people react. Yeah. And if it's no big deal, they're hired. If it's a big deal, you're not gonna thrive here.
Well, this is a bigger thing because what HR has also created is this greenwashing effect, where nobody can be themselves anymore. They need to act a certain corporate or certain way. And I'm not talking about being a jerk or being, at a low vibration. That's not, not acceptable, or mistreating people or abusing. That's not what I'm talking about. But what I am talking about is there's this sort of cookie cutter playbook of don't say this, don't say that, don't say this. And if you're coming from a higher level of consciousness, you're above all that because that's just all like chit chat noise. It's all noise. So how do you bring an organization above the noise, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, I looked up a stat for this. I actually, not research, I just looked up a stat or two. And of the 159 million people who are workers in the United States, 47.4 million voluntarily quit in 2021.
Yeah. So the Great Resignation, what's really the Great Resignation? Talk about that, Denise.
Yeah.
Because it's not what the news or the media is saying. I don't think most people have a clue what is really happening right now.
No, it's not. Oh, people just don't want to work anymore. Wrong. Okay, the thought of people don't want to work anymore, you can go back to every decade in the last 300 years and find a newspaper article that talks about how people don't want to work anymore. And that's not it. Truthfully, that's not it. That's just a knee jerk because somebody doesn't want to look at the real reasons why this happened. And the real reasons, when you go to Pew Research Center and when you start looking at Harvard Business Review and all that sort of stuff. Okay, Pew, low pay, 63%, no advancement opportunities, 63%. So do you remember that challenge thing we talked about in flow where to get flow, you have to be challenged with new opportunities for mastery?
Right.
Okay, if you're not giving anybody an opportunity to grow, you deserve to lose that person. Disrespected at work, 57% said they were disrespected. There's always been a take this job and shove it mentality by a lot of people. We write songs about that, obviously. But
working for the weekend.
Yeah. Other problems, morals, values, treatment of employees, micromanagement and bullying. What business school did you come out of for that? We'll talk about business schools someday. And outdated tech. It's like you're not reinvesting in your own business. You're taking profit out of your own business and you're making people work on abacuses instead of
Hey, those work for thousands of years, Denise.
I know, and they probably will.
Well, if we ever go to low tech and everything, and an EMP goes off and we lose it off, at least we got our abacuses.
Is that abaci?
That's a good question. Abacuses? I don't know. Somebody please correct us.
Anyone want?
Go ahead and put the phonetic spelling in the chat. You're touching on it, right? So people, I like to say it's a great awakening happening.
Yes, it is a great awakening.
And we know this for a fact. There's a lot of research in metaphysics and quantum physics and everything else. And you can read a great book, Fourth Turning by Neil Howe, which studies demographics and society over times and generations and how they interact. Either way, we're going on a convergence right now. And the old things, the old fear-based models, people are opting out.
Yeah.
And they're opting out to that, like micromanagement. What is micromanagement? It is a fear-based management style for a person that feels like they need to control. And if they don't, their lives go out of sync. And if you're that person that feels like you need to control, you are living in a fear-based, and you need to understand why you feel like you need to control. And that is unpacking, right? So it's like, how do we actionize all of this? Like from a leader, how do we lead a high frequency organization? I say this all the time, and a lot of people are like, well, that's easy, Adam. Easy for you. I work on this.
I'm a millionaire.
I work on this every day. Right. And at least an hour every day, my own meditation and my own shadow work. Right. And everybody's got to do their shadow work. I mean, you got to do the work. And it may not look like you're working much when you're sitting there with your eyes closed, but you are doing the work. You're doing more work than your body's not been actually trying to move objects. And the question I always say is, before you say anything or make a decision, two things you should be asking. Are you making this decision based on fear or abundance? Like, what if it could happen? What if something great happened? Like, how would that change the way you're acting with an individual, a one-on-one conversation, or a team conversation, or a strategic planning discussion, or just responding to a customer email who's unhappy or whatever, or happy? It doesn't matter. It just mean any decision. And how is this decision a service to self, survival, or service to others? And if you put that through those lenses, those two lenses, and by the way, service to self, like taking care of yourself. I'm not trying to say taking care of yourself isn't important. You're the first person you need to take care of, right? You need to love yourself more than anybody, okay? And that's not in an ego level. That is a pure just love. You are love, and you should love yourself. But then you should ask yourself, after you move past that phase, is this, why am I protecting myself with this decision? Yeah. And usually it's the wrong decision, right? 99.9999, right. Probably 110% of the time it's the wrong decision. So,
to be fair, I will grant everyone, we get why you think that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
We get why you feel the way you do. You have been trained.
We've been programmed.
You've been programmed. You've been trained to think a certain way by your schooling, by the media, by your first job and your second job. And you have been programmed. And I personally am not a conspiracy theoretical person. I kind of go, oh, that's much garbage. But you have been, like, through your entire development, every life stage, you've been told what to think, how to act, what is right, what is wrong, and, not to stay basically to stay in your lane. And we're telling you that there should be, or at least I'm telling you, that there
I'm with you. Denise.
If you look to this one thing, which is that colorful cone, and go, all right, I am going to use that as my model for behavior. I'm going to use that as my model for right and wrong. I'm going to use that as my model for decision making. I'm going to use that as my model for everything in my life. And then you start to do this sort of stuff. You have broken the chains.
And feel it, right? Because you can feel these frequencies. The heart, a lot of people don't understand this, but the heart is actually the most intelligent brain in the body. We have multiple brains, but this is more intelligent than our actual brain up here. And if anybody who is high IQ that has gone through this sort of awakening ascension process, they sometimes have the hardest time because the mind, our intellect loves to get in the way. It loves to create problems. It loves to scare us. We are masters, right? We've talked about this in the past, the fear. So you it's like, how does it make you feel? Does that make you feel good, or does that make you feel bad? Like, are you making this decision from a low level frequency of scarcity and fear? And until you should probably not make any decisions when you're in that kind of shape, right? So you just stop. Like, oh, I'm really in grief and fear. I'm not making any decisions right now. I'm just not, until I get myself at least to a neutrality or a pride and courage. Courage is probably a good place where it stops to turn negative, the outcomes for yourself. So it's exceptional. And it's like that, going back to those simple questions, like, how does it make me feel? Like, am I in a good place to make this decision right now? And is this decision coming from that fear or love? And you can do it at every micro decision adds up to bigger compounding. And a lot of people from a culture of frequency, they talk about, making the office a safe place to fail. Well, yeah. That's the point. Like, if you're coming from love, making it a safe place to fail just is the byproduct of it. So don't focus on it making it a safe place to fail. Just focus on making decisions based on love and abundance and all the good things that can happen. And you'll find that it becomes a safe place to fail, because then if everybody's vibrating at that in frequency, or at least in the range, that positive, that higher level range, because we're all, again, different levels. Some of us are toddlers, other people are, graduate students, other people are wise gurus, right? I think, that just, you allow that acceptance and understanding and care, all the rest of the stuff works itself out, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. This is the life hack. And this is what people, I'm again, gross generalization, but when you talk about tribal elders and people getting old and people who are old who go, God, I wish I knew this before. I wish I could start my life over with a different set of rules. I wish I had listened to my heart. All of that is what happens when people get old and or their last, they're close to deathbed. And or transition, we'll call it transition. They all say that. Why wouldn't you listen?
They do.
They all say that. And, I was I was being a puppet to this, or I was being I love that we now call in research, we call businesses or people actors. We call them actors now. That's the new hot term, market actors.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's probably a way more truthful term than, a brand. They're actors. All these people are actors, and you manipulate them by way of their fears. You put scarcity on them to be a trigger for purchase. You use all this stuff because everybody's acting. And then you go, okay, who's your character and how can I go to their dark side and, kick them up to buy something. That's what it is when you get back to it.
And that's the old force model.
Yeah.
But unfortunately still runs the majority of things right now. We look at from even what our government does and the decisions it makes. You look at the media, they don't get paid for coming from a power perspective and love. Bad news sells better. And why? Because most of the world responds to fear because they haven't realized yet. They haven't turned it off, but that's changing, right? We go back to Great Awakening, not the Great Resignation, the Great Awakening. And we're moving through a very fast period now of acceleration of consciousness, a convergence, some would say, where the whole planet is going through this transition together. So you're going to watch a lot of people really struggle because, again, I think I said this earlier, we're not here to change your beliefs. We're here almost more of a support group of fellows that are working through this together, right? Exploring our openings, things that we've realized so that others that are doing similar things can move through the ascension process faster and then can apply it in a business sense. Because I believe, and I know Denise, you do too, that changing corporate culture is the fastest way to rise the vibration of this planet, because it's no longer governments that run this thing. It's corporations. And so in many ways, this is the revolution of what we're doing here, because once we all get there, and by the way, it's a love revolution. This is not a forced. This is coming from power because people know the truth. And once they see the truth, you can't unsee it. You can't unsee it. And there's so many distortions created from religions and governments and media and former monarchies and to control, because they're afraid of losing what they have. And they're humans. A lot of times people don't have a bad intent. They're just not aware of it. They're just scared.
Yeah.
And that's when they need more love than ever.
They're scared, and holding on to what they learned when they were children, because that was the first thing they heard. And when the human mind hears something, and watch yourself, when the human mind hears a piece of information first, all other information coming after that is compared to the first thing you learn, because you hold on to the first thing you learn as the truth, which is statistically impossible to, it's not. It is not likely that the first thing you have learned is the truth. So one of the things we all have to do is find another way.
Yeah.
And, find a way that is hardwired to figure out what truth is. People do bad things. Corporations do bad things. Governments do bad things.
They also do a lot of really good things too.
Yeah,
so let's not take that away from them, right?
Yeah, they absolutely do. And I think you got to recognize the good things that they do. People like to bitch and moan about the bad things they do, but recognize the good things that are done because of government and because everything, and give energy to those.
And that's where you should put the energy on the positive things, not the past. Like war is the past. Don't put energy in war and building military. I get it for safety. There's some players out there, but it's an escalation. It's an escalation. Oh, you have nukes. We have to have nukes. We have to this because you could attack me anytime. Real leadership, right, in an organization, or no matter what kind of organization it is leading people into those truths that you're saying, Denise, that love in the truth, and moving away and not ignoring it, but not focusing on the lack that's out there. And eventually it compounds. And law of compounding, you don't understand it, everybody should definitely look it up.
Yeah.
It will compound, and then it will go slow, and then it goes fast, and then it's done. And culture and vibration, it only takes one person to start making decisions this way. And then when good things happen, other people will mimic it and they'll follow it, because we've been told our entire lives, we do a certain way, we're going to get success. And it has worked, but it's only worked to a certain point. People that have broken through that force approach, that fear-based approach to the other side, have gone so much further.
We should, that sounds like an ender.
Yes.
Adam, and we're getting to time here.
All right. So we want to do some visualizations technique?
You lead
okay.
something.
Okay. So bear with me, everyone. I'm going to walk us through this. I am processing this and learning this myself. I am not a trained guided meditation leader. So I just want you all to get the essence of this so that you can apply it and do it and internalize it and do it your own way. But I'll touch on the major points of what are the ingredients, and then you can decide what you want your cake to taste like, right? So let's everyone close their eyes and let's get centered, okay? So we're going to take 3 breaths. The first 2 I'll talk about, and the third one you're going to do on your own, and then I'll start talking through, and then we can go through. But this is going to be about attracting the team, okay? The right team for you. All right. First deep breath. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. And when you breathe out, all of that stress, everything goes out with the breath. Everything, all your toes, down to your toes, your calves, your legs, your butt, your arms, your fingers, your back, your neck, your lips, your eyes, your ears, everything is relaxed. Take another breath. Expand throughout your body. Breathe in the light. Hold. And breathe out all of that stress and fear. Again, last one on your own. Breathe in. And hold and breathe out. Now, you find yourself in your company, in your office, or wherever you go to work. And it's a beautiful day. You're so happy. Hold it in your heart. I remember when we talked about in the past is you're holding the positive and gratefulness. You're just grateful, and you're grateful because your business is thriving. You've got a wonderful team, and you just hired the new person for the function that you need, and you know that function. We each have a role, a person we're looking for. It could be a partner that you're looking for, a strategic partner. It could be a team member. You can even be a client or a customer, and see yourself, see them walking in the room. And don't put necessarily a looks on them, but you look at their clothes, just the energy. I want you to feel the excitement, the energy of that person coming in the room, and give them a big hug because you're so happy they're here and they've been so helpful. They're helping with all of those issues that you had. They're all being resolved. And just know, you just know that person is going to come into your life very soon if they're not already there. And then feel that gratitude about the success of everything happening. And if you want to visualize the success of like winning a contract or closing a deal or just getting some work or just having lunch with somebody that you can share your career with, and just enjoy the moment, just because everything's right and you've been looking for this person for so long and they're here. And hold it. Now breathe in, hold, breathe out, and just tell the universe, I am grateful that you brought the colleague into my life to help me achieve our bigger goals. Thank you. I am grateful. And open your eyes. And again, there's no right or wrong way of doing that. The important piece is getting centered, getting in that flow state through breath, through breathing techniques, and visualizing and holding that emotion of gratitude like they're already on your team and you're just so happy. And you can put the function, whatever the role that you want to hire for. And what you'll find is whatever you feel like you need to do later today after you do this, go do it. Don't wait. Just do whatever it is. Don't ask questions. That's the inspired action. If your brain starts getting in the way, well, this, or what if I send this out, then this person, go be a child. Be open to being wrong or making a mistake or looking foolish. It's okay. Those are all fear holding you back. It's okay. And this person will find you because guess what? Just as much as you're looking for them, they're looking for you. So with that concludes our 4th episode, The Culture of Vibration. Denise, thank you as usual. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam. Thank you so much for everything.
Yeah, likewise. So grateful. And all you karmic capitalists that have been watching the shows or finding us the first time, we have so much more in store, and we're going to keep going down this path because it's our goal, it's our intent. And we know that this is important because all of us need to come together and change this reality so that we can all live in an abundance future together. So thank you.